Oh, God.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey. Welcome to a very random and very terrifying October, very spooky October the 14th chat about our horror anthology, 13 Tales of Horror. I'm going to let all these yahoos introduce themselves. And if the echoes get too bad, you might have to mute while you're not talking. But we will see how that goes. And people might be jumping on and jumping off because we embrace the chaos. So, Dave, do you want to start? Introduce yourself.
I'm Dave, and I'm not any closer to my camera. My head is just this much bigger than everybody else's head. Yes, because I am half ogre. If you don't recognize me, you should probably imagine me wearing a tricorn hat, or possibly 1.6 badgers on my head. And then you might go, oh, yes, I have seen that half ogre at some science fiction convention in the last 12 years. So I'm Dave. I write science fiction and fantasy. Occasionally horror, mostly in short story form, mostly. I'm at a science fiction convention as we speak, so I'm going to have to go back down because there's a group of Twilight Imperium players who need their asses kicked, and I'm here to oblige them. In fact, I just delivered the Bane Traveling Roadshow and Prize Patrol to this science fiction convention, at which several of you made appearances in various covers, including anthology covers. So it's almost like you were there with me now.
I'm still muted. It's fine. It's probably safer that way. So two of us co-edited this anthology because somebody had a wild, creepy idea, and that somebody is Nick Steverson. So I'm going to let him go next.
Hey, I'm Nick Steverson. It was 3 years ago. I was had a weird idea to do a thing because my wife's a redhead, so I make ginger jokes constantly. And I had an idea for a creepy story, and I messaged Marisa about it. And she's like, cool. Yeah, but I don't want to do a novel right now. I'm busy, but we can do short stories. And so the idea for this anthology came up. And then I was like, well, if we're going to do a horror anthology, we need to do it right and find out when the next Friday to the 13th is and in October. Because why not? You know what I mean? And it was a 3-year wait, and here we are. So it was a long time coming, but it's definitely different, and I wouldn't recommend doing an anthology edit with anybody but Marisa at this point because she's awesome.
I paid him to say that. It's fine.
No, I had never done one before. This was my first editing experience for anything other than a fellow author, and it was much easier than I had anticipated because she's got her shit together, or crap together. It's not 10 minutes in yet. My bad.
I mean, you already broke the seal.
Marisa is awesome to edit anthologies with.
See, I did my first one with Kacey, so I learned from the best. It's pretty good. Awesome. Why did Kacey leave? Come back to the stage, Kacey. Who knows?
Thank you.
Jesus Christ, you say nice things about me and you have to go, apparently. So now you know. That's the secret to this podcast. It's fine. All right. So on my screen, I've got Matt, Melissa, Dan, Mark, Steve, Kacey. So let's introduce ourselves in that order so I can stay muted momentarily.
Matt, I think that makes you next.
Oh, okay. I'm Matt Novotny. I write mostly military science fiction. I started writing in 2020. And actually, I wanted to write horror. That was kind of where I came from to begin with. And the opportunities, the demons that lurked in the darkness did not have that plan for me. So this is the first horror short that I've gotten out there, and I had a blast doing it. I was able to embrace my inner evil and kind of let that flow. And had such a great crew of people to bounce ideas off of, and what about this? What about that? And I just the whole experience has been fantastic. So that's me.
Hey, I'm Melissa Olthoff. I usually write sci-fi and fantasy and sneak in romance because that's what I love to read. But Nick didn't really give me a choice about writing horror, and I learned things about him that were really kind of creepy and dark and not surprising at all if you know Steverson. So I had a blast, and it was fun and somewhat horrifying, but here we are.
But he brought you balloons.
He did bring me balloons. They were very appropriate.
Balloons were awesome.
There were also flowers.
Okay, my name's Dan Bridgwater. I write mostly military science fiction. I've got a couple of fantasy things in the works, but they're all short stories. Been hanging out with this crew for mind-damaging amount of time, and it's been great. What fun. And this is the first horror I've tried to write, and how can you not roll in some Space Cthulhu or something like that into a fun anthology? That's good times right there. But that's what we did, and I will never reveal the first draft of this one because even my wife said it needed to be taken out behind the barn and shot. And she loves everything I do, or at least that's what she says. I joke. She's a wonderful woman.
She's a professional editor, y'all. So
she is, and she is my primary reader and editor, and she makes me look great, and it's awesome because a lot of people say that pantsers don't make first drafts, and it's like, or we don't plot, but we do. It's just we call it our first draft, and it's basically onto paper. So anyway, but that's how we got here. That's how I got here, and I had a great time doing it. And I appreciate the invite, Nick and Marisa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely knew we wanted to have you on board when we first started it. And to give him credit, he sent me and Marisa an email. Yeah, I'm done, but it's total crap. You can either have it or I can write it better. And we said, make it better.
make it better. I love that. All right, Mr. Wandrey. I know, the mute. It's finding that button.
Okay, I found the button. So I'm Mark Wandrey. I actually started with space opera years ago in a series of books that nobody really read. My publisher at the time told me to do something else, and I grudgingly said, well, I have an idea for a zombie story. Nobody will buy that. And it turns out they did. It actually was my first award-nominated story. I had a Dragon Award nomination for that. And Nick Cole basically skinned me, stuck my skin on the wall, and left it as a trophy and took that away from me. So I started a trend of losing 4 Dragon Awards in a row, which is a hill I will die on to the end of my days. It's my greatest success.
I like it. It's a good record.
Every time I was beat by really good authors, though. What can I say? Anyway, that was horror, is zombie apocalypse, and sure enough, when I think Marisa was the one who said, "Hey, you want to do a horror thing or something like that?" And I'd never written any short stories in that world when I finished it. And I thought, you know what? I had an idea for something I'd do, so I'll go ahead and condense that and throw it together. And they said it didn't suck. So there you go.
It did not suck, y'all. It is going to make you question airlocks. It's fine.
Yeah, it didn't suck at all. It made me want to read the rest of that entire series.
Well, and then after I did that, I created the Four Horsemen universe. So, which doesn't suck.
NBD, just a little. Just a little.
That does not suck either.
Little 90 book series.
About 90. I think it's 89 right now.
It's just a smidge, just a
little bitty series.
Yeah, no big deal.
With its own fan club. Mm-hmm.
Dedicated cosplayers. All right, Steve.
Game.
Steve Diamond. I write whatever I get paid to write. So, sci-fi, fantasy, horror, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit of a late addition to this anthology, but I'm glad I'm glad I got the call, because as a discovery writer, even though you say you're a discovery writer a lot, I mean, you always have ideas bouncing around in your head, and you're like, oh, one day I'm going to write this story. This is one of the few times where I got asked, and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing right now. I got zero right now. So this was truly like pure discovery writing, which most people really don't do. Mm-hmm. I sat down, I was going back and forth with Kacey about this, and I'm like, I don't know, what about this idea? Or I don't know, how about this other idea? And yeah, so I write a lot of horror. In terms of pretty much every short story I write is horror.
Is a horror.
So yeah, I'm known as a horror writer. Although in terms of long fiction, I rarely actually get to write horror, pure horror. So I usually just take all the fun elements and shove it in every other genre and forcibly make everybody a fan of horror, whether they want it or not. So that's my mission in life. So
I like it. That's awesome. And so Steve, I met Steve through this process. So I had not met him before. We had been at some conventions, but like, nope. And then we had some folks who couldn't make the anthology. And I was like, man, I don't know what we're going to do here. And Kacey's like, I know a guy. Let me ask a guy. And then the guy with Steve Diamond. I was like, yes, that sounds amazing. Thank you. Let us speak.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I can do it. Give me a week. And then I proceeded to get like headbutted in the face at a concert. I got sick.
Literally.
I mean, I was a disaster for like 3 weeks. I'm like, man, this is what I get for writing for a Friday the 13th anthology, right?
That's right.
Like,
you were cursed. The story, however, not cursed. I mean, character maybe, but the story amazing. So you guys are all going to want to meet Friday. She is amazing.
I'm very, very excited for that. And I think that's going to turn into a long-term character for me.
Yeah, it's a great, she's a great character, and the story's awesome. I really enjoyed it.
So good. Kacey, now that you have had to chug an entire Red Bull, thanks to Writer Dojo rules, would you tell people what's going on there and who you are?
So one of the reasons I know Steve Diamond is because he's one of the hosts of a really fantastic writing podcast known as Writer Dojo. And the running joke on Writer Dojo, as fans of the podcast will know, is that every time Steve mentions horror or talks about himself as a horror writer, everyone has to drink. And now I have no more Red Bull.
That should be really good for us all in like 30 minutes.
That's right. So. That's right. I'm going to stay up all night, Steve, and it's all your fault. Thank you so much.
Mission accomplished.
Woo!
That's okay. I already got 4,000 words today. Maybe I can make it 8. Let's do this.
pretty baller. Do you want to introduce yourself also?
Yes.
Kacey?
Also, my name is Kacey Ezell. I write science fiction, fantasy, military science fiction, noir, and actually a little horror. This is not my first foray into horror. It's not even my first foray into horror with Marisa Wolf, actually. We've done a couple of short stories together. I'm one of those weird people, like I don't like to watch horror. And I'm very particular about the horror that I read, but I love writing it because it's just, it's a lot of fun to kind of get into the psyche of your character and kind of figure out what makes them fear and what makes them react and what makes them kind of tick, So I'm into it. So when Marisa and Nick were talking about this idea, and they were doing so in a group chat that I'm also a member of, and it was like, they were talking to people and they were like, hey, will you, Mark, you want to be in it? And Melissa, you'll do it, of course, because, you're Nick's not biological twin sister. And, they're like, hey, let's get Dan, let's get Matt, and maybe we can ask like DJ Butler. And I'm like, finally, I emailed Marisa and I was like, Marisa, can I play? Can I do it with you?
And to be clear, the answer was, oh yeah, I just assumed you were. I didn't think I'd ask. To be fair.
Yeah, we never figured we'd have to invite you because we figured you two were writing, like you and her writing the story together was the plan all along. So.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's an internet theory out there that Marisa and I are the same person. So have you actually seen the two of us in a room together? But yes, so I was very privileged to work with the amazing Marisa Wolf in writing a very fun story that was a different type of discovery writing. I am not a dancer. I am 100% a plotter, and I plotted the mess out of this thing, and then it took a turn and started becoming a small town romance, and that was not that was not
And
what we
horror.
planned. But then we were able to turn it into what it became, and it became what I think was actually a pretty good story. So
It was a great story.
thank you.
For the record, nobody thought you were the same person. We always thought it was two distinct, separate personalities in the same body. Yes,
Same body.
but not the same person at all.
Got it. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
an important clarification.
Okay. All right.
Just different expressions. Amazing. I am Marisa Wolf. I write everything I can get my grubby hands on, as long as there's some speculative aspect to it, whether it be monsters or cat assassins or small town romance in the midst of a tiny killing spree. It's fine. That's a normal thing to build a romance around, I think. So we seriously had so much fun with this anthology. And the chat is blowing up. I love it. Although I did mess up right away because the music wasn't working, but Maya could hear me, and I contend that was on purpose. It was creepy voice over creepy picture, and then you got the music, and it's fine. And I would also say I wish we were all at this science fiction convention with you, Dave. I'm actually a little offended that I'm not there right now.
Look, there's room. You could sleep on the chair in the
have
corner
little
of my
sleeping
room.
bags. Come
Yeah,
on.
I got a little ottoman too. You could probably both of you could sleep there.
I want to go camping.
It's like musical accompaniment.
There could be singing. Yeah,
I got
there's
12
donuts.
guitar.
I want
don't
the
do it
donuts.
without guitars if I can help it. They're donuts.
There are donuts, there's music, there's sleeping bags. I
in.
mean, these are my favorite things. And then just wanted to point out from another incredible editor, Maya Cleve, that Leslie Bridgwater is an awesome editor. So we're just going to make sure to highlight that for the world. She's also an awesome person, blah, blah, blah. But for the purposes of this conversation, she helped make Dan's story awesome, and that was important. So folks started talking a little bit about their story, but
She
maybe
puts
we
up
can.
with me too. So
I mean, that is
a saint. A
pretty
saint.
legit. Yeah, we like that. But let's jump in. Oh, and there's guests. Let's all look at Steve's pupper.
I want to start with Dave because I have questions about his.
Nick, you can't ask spoiler questions though. You got to keep those locked in.
Are they nausea-inducing questions?
All I want to say is I find dolls creepy AF anyway,
Sure.
and this guy takes it to a whole new level. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to know where the inspiration, without giving anything away, for that came from.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you an answer. It'll
No spoilers.
it's gonna risks giving us a little something away. Better only a risk.
Okay.
So this is a Hiram Woolley story. Hiram Woolley is a 1930s character. He's a farmer, and he's also a magician. And part of the shtick of writing those stories, including the novels with Aaron Michael Ritchie, is that we don't invent the magic, okay? Except like 1% maybe at the margin here and there, but they're real spells that come out of real spell books and things people really talk about doing in magical practice, right? And by the way, one result of me writing these books and stories is people will approach me online or in physical space and say things like, my dad used to tell me stories about when he was a lumberjack in British Columbia, exactly the same things that you're writing about in this story, right? That's cool. Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So I knew I had to write basically this story when I learned that there's this old part of medieval English magical tradition. I was reading a history, I forget what the book is called, but it's a history of nighttime. And so it goes back and looks at medieval and early modern sources and tries to figure out what was night like for people, focusing on medieval early modern England, but also Europe and the world generally. Like, did people sleep through the night? Answer, actually, no. one of the chapters talks about how it was very common. There's a lot of evidence that people would sleep in 2 shifts. It's very common to go to sleep, wake up in the middle of the night, fool around with your partner, do a little studying, do some work in your little factory, go back to bed and sleep a second time, right? For example, that's not the inspiring thing. But in this book, they were talking about burglary and other nighttime crimes, and it got into this section where it was talking about the magical practices of English burglars, and it turns out that there is that one of the magical practices of traditional English burglars.
Oh no.
He froze up at the good part. That's
You don't get to know because it's a
That's a-
protective spell.
that's
Obviously,
a
a
real
spell
life.
involved.
That was
You-
a real life
Yeah.
cliffhanger. What the
Dave,
hell?
you froze
There's
at
a
the exact
hexing.
moment. You're like,
There's a
here's the thing, and I
hexing.
was like, it was protective. Nobody can know.
Did I cut out? Am I
You
gone?
did.
The Illuminati.
back.
did one
You're
more.
back.
Okay, hold on.
That's some Friday the 13th eclipse crap.
It was.
All right. I'll put it in the chat if I can't get it out here. But the idea was if you took a dump at the scene of the crime, that prevented you from being caught. Like that was a magical act, and so burglars would like leave a shit.
I'll remember that.
Right? They would go and you break into the burglar's house and you steal his money or his tubes or kidnap his daughter or whatever. And you take a dump on the site because that was a magical. It was counter magic. It stopped you from being captured. So I said, okay, man, this is so going into a story, and it's obviously got to be a Hiram Woolley story. And
I guess it brings new meaning to take your shit and go, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I had a
exactly
friend take a
right.
dump on a police car. We still got arrested. So I'm not sure
Yeah,
if that's
see, it
what-
doesn't work for everyone. You got to prepare.
Yeah.
The right herbs. I don't know.
So
Crowley
this is
was trying to elevate that later.
this is a story that's sort of an occult detective story, and it starts with a crime scene, a pretty gruesome murder scene, where the murderer has left a big dookie on the living room floor, and you know the cop there. That's the opening conversation as Hiram kind of shows up, is about why on earth would someone go to the bathroom right on the floor of the crime scene.
Hey, I got excited.
Yeah. So and that goes downhill from there. So
The title of this story, y'all, is Unclean Hands. It is the first story in the anthology. Treat yourself and read it. You can even read it on the toilet if you want to.
Yeah, it would seem appropriate, honestly.
really work out for you. We can't ask any other questions because you have to read it. But during that, I love that Yvonne joined during that
Yvonne.
particular section. Hello, we love you, Yvonne. And then also, I love that this is going to be the book you're going to read right after. So All Will Burn is actually an anthology that Kacey and I are also in that came out this week. We wrote a story together in that one too. So the tone might be a little different, but it'll still it was good. And then I think there was unanimous agreement to does anyone else want access to I think that was pretty clear.
Definitely.
And then now there's a lot of poop jokes happening. So this is very important, I think, to add to the chat. So that's good. Nick, do you have any other burning questions for our authors?
No. I will say that it had a lot of religious oriented magical things. So from what you just said, all that would be pretty much accurate, right?
yeah, like it's not research, it's fiction, but
No.
like there's not very many things I'm actually making up in there other than the plot.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Reading it, I could tell. Like, I don't know your background as far as all that goes, and we don't have to get into all that. But I was like, he seems to know what he's talking about, so that's pretty cool.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He does know about shitty jobs. So well done.
I got like 2 pages into the story. What the hell?
So Nick sends me this story. Y'all, Nick sends me the story and says, I can't tell you anything. I don't want to ruin it for you. You'll know when you get there. And so And I did. I did absolutely know when I got there. And I was like, this is amazing.
She sends me a text. What the fuck, Dave?
It's amazing. And I freaking love it. So it's such a great story. And I really do. Please make all the poop jokes about it being the entry point of the anthology. Please do feel free.
It seemed to just follow from the premise. Like once I had that set up, the ending kind of had to be what it was. So
I enjoy we're making people cry with laughter on a horror.
It just fell out right onto the floor.
yeah.
So I'm trying to click on more, but you guys are. So, I mean, you know what? That's a great point, Michael. Thank you. In terms of burning questions, you can, in fact, burn dried poop for light. So that is very important. I would like the record to show that I did not type this. Jeremy Como, please. My husband is typing under my name. I do not like it. I did not pee, and I did not type that. That is upsetting to me. Anyway. Does anyone else have a really fun inspiration? Jeremy, stop typing with my name.
Jeremy, I'm gonna keep whispering if you don't stop.
Jeremy,
Cut it out.
really
Do not
good.
do that while I'm drinking, Casey. Oh my God.
I mean, you can swallow. We have faith in you. So, any other fun,
Thank you.
that's what I'm saying. We have faith. Any other fun inspirations that you folks would like to share? Now that everyone is done, Mark
Now
is
that
really
Casey
wishing
has
that.
permission to swallow, we can move along.
Mark
No
is
one
wishing
wants to
his
follow
service had
that.
swallowed. Yeah, I know. Come on, somebody's got something.
No one's stories are going to be that cool. Come on now.
Permission to swallow? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you heard it, Mark. You heard it. Technically, it was warm, but that's fine. So.
The hole keeps getting deeper.
Well,
I
we
mean-
need a deep hole for
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Holding back right now. Holding back.
In our defense, it took 27 minutes to go this far off the rails, and I am really proud of us, you guys. Good job, crew.
So now there's rails. Okay, someone could have said earlier.
There were rails, but because if I had pointed them out, that would have been the impetus to leap over them. So I know you people.
The best part is that it was Dave Butler that took us off the rails.
Yeah.
Pretty great. It's pretty great.
Look, it's just real history, man. I can't help it. Like stuff happened in the past.
People have always been people, and poop has always been funny.
So
Yes.
when I was going back and forth with Kacey, because I was just throwing, no pun intended, crap against the wall in order to
Always
This is how it
intense.
sticks. We know. We heard this.
yeah
before.
see what would work. It was very late at night when this happened, but the main character in my story basically tends a graveyard or a cemetery, and the reason that popped in my head was because at LibertyCon earlier this year, a guy came up to me, led by another guy, and they're like, "Hey, Steve, you need to meet this person." I'm like, well, this isn't going to go well. And they come up to me and they say, "Steve, you need to hear what this guy's job is." I'm like, okay. It's like, he is a sexton. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And besides thinking it was dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, that means that he's like the caretaker at a cemetery. And so I started talking to him about stuff, and there were details that he said that I'm eventually going to put into a different story with this character. Now that it all kind of catalyzed together, but like he was talking to me about all the different kind of graves he's dug and all of these super crazy details, how he has a map that's like an heirloom map that shows where all the people are buried, and there's names on there that aren't supposed to be there. And I mean, he was just going on and on. I ended up talking to this guy for like 3 hours at LibertyCon. And so, I mean, I'm a horror author, right? Like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to ignore like a guy who's like a cemetery like caretaker, right? Like, it would be irresponsible of me to not somehow use that in a story.
Yeah.
And so that's why the main character in my story tends a cemetery. Is because I met a guy, and I can't remember his name. I have it in my email somewhere, but he was very excited to meet me, and other people were very excited for him to meet me, apparently, because anything that's weird and bizarre and creepy, they want me to know about it for some reason. I don't know why.
I love that.
So the names that he wasn't supposed to have, are they not etched on the tombstones in the cemetery, but they're on the map?
Read the next Friday Black book.
It was weird. Like, it was weird stuff. And as he was telling me about it, I'm like, oh man, this has like magic artifact written all over it. Like, I'm imagining a map where like the names appear by themselves ahead of the burial. Like, I like all this, like my brain is going to all these places, obviously. I'm like, dang it, I need to figure out how to write this into a story. And when I started writing it, I was like, oh, here we go. I'm going to be able to do it. And then I went completely off rails because I didn't plan this story in the slightest. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I mean, I don't know, guns or something, because reasons.
I love it. So, I like the, you had a moral obligation to talk to that guy. That's a good point.
Yes.
That's good. Please hold. I have a husband coming in. Okay, never mind. Carry on. Other fun inspirations.
What about you, Matt?
Oh, I don't know that my inspirations were fun. I mean, they certainly not dookie fun, you know.
Well, what could be?
Mine's Jack the Ripper story. So there is a little bit of spoiler there, but it's in the title. So if you didn't catch that going in, you're going to be surprised by a lot of stuff through the whole antho. And that story's been done a lot. But one of the things that seldom gets answered is, what are the motivations of the character? And so I wanted to explore that and put a twist on, you know, is it just a slasher? Are there reasons? And what are those? How deep do they go? So I had some fun playing with that.
It was definitely a bright and cheery story.
I remember when we were talking about guidelines on the antho ahead of time, because I had my list of, okay, I know the story I want to write, and it was like, well, it you know, you don't want to do everybody dies, and I'm like, oh man, well, I blew that, you know. No real slasher stuff. Oh man. So I just kind of went down the checklist of, I'm like, okay, we need to talk because my story has issues if this is the case.
That for me, as far as horror goes, I say go wherever your dark little heart wants to take you, because I'm that guy too. Like, I want to go as absolutely far as I can.
Can confirm.
I had to be reeled back in mine and Melissa's story too. And I just wrote a 4HU story that's coming out in another anthology that I also had to be really reeled back on too. So I know what you're saying, Matt. Because you know, these are probably two of the darkest things I've ever done, besides one fantasy story. But like, I really wanted to get in there. And but yeah, certain, you know, some publishers only want you to go so far because, you know, who reads their books, and you know, it is what it is. But I think it turned out well. The anthology's up and down in places. You know, you get some lighthearted stuff, and then you get thrown into the darkness, and then you come back up, and maybe by the end of the book, the reader's not a pile of weeping sorrow. I don't know.
No. So there was a moment, fair warning, readers, there was a moment I was going through a couple of the stories, and I was like, so every single protagonist is just going to die then? And Nick was like, no, I'm sure we're going to get a variety. And we did. We got a variety, but we just got a flurry of Everybody Dies in various ways. So surprise, enjoy. But we're like, well, we can't end with that because like Nick said, we can't have somebody close this book and be like, well, I'm going to throw myself off a cliff. This is the end. I'm going to go to Friday's cemetery and bury myself and appear on the map. So we had to make sure, thankfully, to Nick's point, we had this incredible variety of stories. And some people did, in fact, live, which was very exciting. Also, while I'm talking, just like the internet record to show that Jeremy first came in and told me not to worry about him. So I was ignoring him. But then I'm guessing when Yvonne saw his hand, he was actually trying to get my attention because he needed the plug for his laptop. So that was, I just need the internet record.
That's,
it was nothing fun.
It was plugging the laptop.
It was fully unfun. It involved plugins for other things. So
something like a USB port or something.
And right, nothing for me, nothing for my benefit. So we're not here to kink shame, but also nothing fun was happening. So, so we've got some very fun cemetery groundkeeper stories, obviously a genre. So that's cool. It's Cedar Sanderson wrote that. And then Maya had an idea. So Nick and I were talking about maybe doing more of these horror anthologies because this was really fun. We got an incredible variety of stories. And I like it. 13 cemetery spots.
I like that.
You know, Steve, you want to kick us off with that one? We can give you more than like 3 weeks notice. It'll be
we'll get Dave
where's the fun in that?
I mean, you know, just for fun. I also like that Dave is over here confessing in the comments. So we've got a few little just notes. You can hear Jeremy cackling in the background, which is good. And Nick I told Nick that I got to talk to Dave at Dragon Con, and he's like, cool. Did you remind him that we need his story? And I was like, I did not. He's like, could you? And I was like, yes, I can. So I had to like go hunt Dave down and tell him.
Then I waited a couple days after his con was done, and he had a time to settle in. Hey, where's your story?
It was pretty fun.
Like the Monty Python criers, you go, bing, bring out your story, bing.
There's Haley chiming in. She, her story is great.
Yes. So Haley is another of the authors from the anthology. Not a happy ending, we'll say. Haley's theory of horror applies to her story. So enjoy. No spoilers, just enjoy. Goodness gracious. So we were telling Steve, I think Kacey and I were chatting with Steve and mentioned that our story had taken a different turn and there was a little more romance in it than we were expected. And Steve was like, yeah, one of my characters just exploded. I don't think we're writing the same kind of horror. So, can confirm. Dan, share something about your old ones.
Well, my protagonist does survive. He's not unchanged by the experience. And let's see what else. I always thought, as I read all this science fiction, it's like, what happens when we run into something that just should not be there? And in this case, it is something on an archaeological dig that's like, wait, we're on an alien planet. I've seen this before. This ain't right. This can't be. And so, how is humanity going to react with that? And the other thought I had, which was the first draft that got shit canned, was, would aliens even understand why we do archaeology? Would they look at us and just say, the hell, man, that's dead, that's past, that's buried. Why do we even need aliens? Think alien things. But I just had this thought of the first exoarchaeology team going out and finding things that they really wish later they hadn't. So went from there. And since it's, science fiction, I had to have, science fiction Cthulhu horror, and had a great time with it. It was a lot of fun. It was one of those ones that's like, once I got on track with it and got the first draft out of the way, The story just kind of pops up, and it's like, okay, I know where I'm going with this now, and I've already got the end scene in mind. I know how that's going to happen.
Mhm.
And let's see if we can't make it creepy and a little bit of, oh, hey, is that a bone? So a bone. Thanks,
Sorry.
Marisa.
I can't help now. Here we are.
I like
Have
I
you
like
seen
the way
these
you
comments?
did everything. I like
That's
I
what
like
she
the
said. No one.
I
Okay.
like-
Sorry.
I liked the futuristic Indiana Jones feel you had going on.
Yeah, it was fun, and again, it's like you want that isolation, and I will admit that my absolute favorite horror of any kind is The Thing, and everybody's going to say, well, duh, yeah. But you see all the slasher horror, and you see the 90s horror genre, and it's just like murder slashy, but The Thing, the isolation, and the Alien was the same way. The isolation, the unknown, the just what the hell is, we know that something's horribly wrong, and we don't know clue one about what the hell's going wrong here. I mean, with Jason and with Freddy, it's like, oh, it's Freddy, and then you spend the next 87 minutes of the movie running away from Jason, and so having that, we're going to dig this up, we're going to try to figure out what's going on. Oh, this is really cool, and then the bodies start showing up, so
you like a little mystery with your murder.
A little bit of suspense and a little bit of pressure to try to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And
the building tension was really well done.
Tension. Yeah. And I've never liked the slasher movies because I am a member of the Church of Korea. That would be Larry, and I think that enough firepower is going to address the issue of Freddy or Jason, and so you have to. That's what I think a slasher movie should end up with, is he kicks down the door, and on the other side of the door is somebody with a pump shotgun, and it goes poorly. But always you shoot Jason, you hang Jason, you burn him Jason, and he comes back, and that's like, okay, that's just bullshit. That's just bullshit. So now that we're past the 10-minute mark, that's just bullshit.
I mean, it's the seal has been broken. You're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Much like in your story.
I think Mark's story had a he really put the mystery in there pretty well, especially if you haven't read anything else in that series. Like, you kind of think you know what's going on, but there's enough there to keep you guessing, because you don't exactly know what's going on is actually going on. You know what I mean? There's that mystery aspect to it, and you don't really figure it out till about halfway through the story. It's pretty cool. I thought it was great.
Yeah, space is scary, right? And so Mark took that space opera and put it together with the zombies and said, hey, remember, everything wants to kill you. Mark, you want to talk a little bit more about your story?
18 or 19 when Alien came out, and I remember just being knocked out of my shoes with that movie. It was just incredible. I liked horror in general, but it already turned towards the slasher stuff, so horror was kind of like almost dead, and they literally reinvigorated it and reinvented it in a way nobody had ever done. The 2/3 of the movie, they're hunting the little alien, and all of a sudden everything just turns completely on its side. When you see the full-size one for the first time, that scene in the tunnels when they're in the air shafts and Captain Dallas is hunting the alien with the gun, he's like, I think it's here somewhere. It was just done to a T. Absolutely loved it. So in mine, as I mentioned, it's based on my Turning Point series, which is a trilogy of zombie apocalypse, and it's an alien virus that is inadvertently released onto Earth by people who crashed there, these aliens. And in the aftermath, at the end of it, we realized some of their technology, how to use it, and find a couple of the live ones, and they start helping us. They said, well, we did this to you, so we're going to help you a little bit and everything. But we lose Earth. It's gone. We can't live there anymore. So this is 25 years in the future, and we're living on a Mars colony and a couple of space stations. And we also, I think, have a brand new Venus colony that's under construction, kind of a floating colony idea, because there's actually maybe a breathable air level on Venus. Yeah, Venus, right? Yeah, Venus. Okay, sorry. Lost my train of thought there for a second. So this picks up with some characters in that universe, and 25 years later, we're beginning to use their alien technology to start literally going to other planets, looking for a place to live. And you follow one of the ship captains as they arrive. There's one station, there's one system, and it has prospects because it might be livable. When they get there, they don't actually find a livable planet, but what they find is an alien space station. And this is the first time they've come across other alien life. And what they find on board is not at all what they're expecting.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it really does keep you guessing until it's in your face. It was really well done. I enjoyed it.
Literally, yes.
Yeah, literally.
I had fun writing it.
Nice. And I'm not sure if you saw this, Mark, but in the chat also, you and John Ringo have written the only zombie apocalypse books.
I would recommend J.L. Bourne too, if you like that sort of zombie stuff. I mean, his are dead ones, but they're like alien plague animated corpses. But when I wrote the Turning Point series, I was like, I liked Walking Dead, but I also know science, so those two don't go together very well. And then, sure enough, like I don't know if mine came out before Ringo or not. Anyway, I think it was after because I was influenced a bit by his stuff, but I went my own direction. It was fun, I like coming up with a reason. And mine aren't zombies. John Oz calls them nombies, says they're actually still alive. So you can shoot them and they'll die. Not quickly, but they'll die.
Well, I'll say that with Ringo and with you, those books, because I've read the Turning Point books, and they're not disaster porn. They're not death porn. There's hope.
No, I put a lot of that in there.
And that was the thing with The Walking Dead was after season 1, it's like,
why would you want
these guys just gonna eat a bullet? You're miserable. Just eat a bullet.
And I land a C-17 on aircraft carriers. That's fun too.
That's awesome. So Melissa and Kacey. So fun fact, folks. So Kacey and I talked about our story. Then Kacey, like she said, outlined the heck out of it. And then I, weeks later, was reading Melissa and Nick's story. And there are some similarities at the beginning. And then it goes wildly differently. Ladies, anything you'd like to share about your various stories?
So I think that we took the same basic concept without knowing we were starting with the same basic concept. And then we immediately took a hard left and a hard right. Pun absolutely intended in the case of your story, which I loved. I did not know I was a fan of small town horror romance, but damn, it's awesome. And I am totally a fan of She Who Will Smother the World. If you don't know what I'm talking about, read their story. It's fantastic. In the case of mine and goats are amazing. They will eat everything. That's right. In the case of mine and Nick's story, that was a lot of fun, but I will give credit where credit is due. That was Nick's idea, like start to finish. I made it better because that's what I do.
Teamwork.
I don't know that it was all my idea. I mean, I had the gist of it, but I think our main character was mainly you.
Aww.
I think you really put her together. I had the idea, like I wanted this chick, and
he's being nice to me.
To be this and that. Well, we're public. I can't shame you publicly. But no, I mean, she's an ex-military chick, so I mean, it makes sense that she would develop that character a lot better than me. Obviously,
it was still fun. It was we did the whole mystery and the suspense and hopefully hit the right points to try and string everybody along.
We put a lot of clues in there for stuff that we don't say or talk about in the story. And if we ever do a novel, that's where it'll come out at. Mm-hmm. So what about you, Kacey?
Yeah. So I'm also a retired military chick. So, I was thinking when Marisa and I were talking about this story, we knew what the bad guy was going to be, what She Who Smothers the World. We knew what that was. And we knew that there were going to be goats involved. And that was because of Melissa, actually, and her singing the praises of baby goats that she used to own. And then
I love them.
So
baby goats are awesome.
Yeah. So we started. So that was sort of our starting point. And I think I came up with our main character of like, okay, hey, we've got this chick. I'm a military chick, and so let's play with the old, like what I kind of wanted to do with it was make it almost like a Hallmark movie gone bad. So here's
all
this.
Hallmark movies go bad.
Nailed
A
it.
little mad.
Yeah, nailed it.
Not quite the same way, Nick. So here's this badass military chick who's moving to this small town, and she's a retired military working dog handler, and she's got her partner with her, who was her partner, who is now her service dog, has been retrained as her service dog, but was her partner in the military. And they went through some shit together in Afghanistan. And Mona Lisa, if you're watching, the dog is fine. The dog lives. Nothing bad happens to the dog. So, but yeah, and it was really fun to write that sort of like human working dog dynamic. I think the relationship between between my handler and Zuma the dog was just, I don't know, I enjoyed writing that piece of it almost as much as the rest of it. I don't know, what do you think, Marisa?
Yeah, no, I loved it. So we had like talked about it, and then I don't remember what rabbit hole I fell into, but Casey's like, hey, so we talked about it and here's our outline. And I was like, oh.
Well, it was because I was moving and I was like, girl, I got to do this.
We got to get this done because I'm about to change states. And I was like, okay. So I read it over and I was like, dang, okay. And she's like, also wrote the first 1,200 words. Okay, here you go. And I was like, oh, okay. And then for a little bit there, we went back and forth on the ending. Because I had a very specific ending in mind, but then as I got more and more stories in, I was like, we can't do it. It was never the dog, Mona Lisa. The dog was always going to be fine.
Yes.
This one of the promises I can make in my writing, I will never kill the dog. Even if I write with Nick Steverson, I will not let it happen. It will get deleted.
I tried to talk her into it. I was like, kill the dog, kill everybody, do the creepy bad ending, let everybody suffer. She wouldn't do it.
No. Casey's idea for the ending was better. And so we had, part of it was we had so much fun with the characters that they decided to do some things that were not in the beautiful outline that Kacey gave us.
Like fall in love.
Like fall in love. They were going to fall in love, but it was going to be more of like, stressful situation. Yeah. You're cute, I'm cute, rage. But instead it was like super cute. And one of my favorite lines I think I might have ever written about offering up underpants. So, I think it's totally worth it.
At one point, the main character is tempted to offer her heart and her underpants up on a plate to
I cackled.
Sheriff lead. You are welcome.
It was great.
This is midway through the accidental killing spree that also happens in the story.
Look, whomst amongst us hasn't moved to a small town to reinvent ourselves, fallen in love with local law enforcement, and then accidentally killed a bunch of people? I don't
accidentally on purpose,
For legal purposes, this is a joke.
Right. Hallmark movie gone bad.
Yes. Gone bad.
Allegedly.
I think it's funny how y'all's story has people. She moved to a new town, but in mine and Melissa's story, it's a whole roller coaster of new people moving to her town. So it's just like y'all said, it starts the same in the beginning, but then like polar freaking opposite.
Yeah, it's cool. Almost like they mirror each other, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah. So, and we did not plan.
So is this going to be a Hallmark Hollywood special with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds cast, or who's your dream team for the
cast? Ryan Reynolds could do the sheriff. Yeah, like the younger Ryan Reynolds could do the sheriff. Yeah. Jayla is.
Zendaya would be good.
Zendaya would be beautiful. Yeah. So the other fun thing that I threw in, because I'm crazy like that, is I just randomly arbitrarily decided that the main character's dad is a retired NFL did I say he was a tight end? I don't know, but he played for the Steelers and now is dealing with dementia, early onset dementia, because of head injuries. I forgot why I was telling you guys that, but anyway, yeah. So random facts about our character.
I always saw Gina Carano as ours with blue hair.
Oh, nice.
Gina Carano with blue hair.
Nice.
Yeah.
We also gave her blue hair because of Kacey.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I gave my character goats because of you. So
I also liked
The
the
ghost
random
organ.
text I was getting from Casey, like, "Hey, for Belgian Malinois, does this make sense? Does this work?" Because I had Belgians.
How tall are they?
What's a normal?
How tall are you? Like, where would? I'm like, yeah, it was great.
So it's funny that you say that because Casey was making sure to make this a cool badass dog, but like a realistic dog. And I very recently saw this review on, I'm sure it was Instagram because I am too old lady for TikTok, but I'm sure it was from a TikTok conversation. And they were like, yeah, this lady had a 250-pound dog. I don't know that she's ever seen a dog in real life before. It ruined the whole story for me. And I was like, well, thank goodness that we fact checked the size of the
Depends on
dog.
what kind of dog it is, though.
It's a big dog.
I think it was not a dog that gets to be 250 pounds.
What
I
are-
mean, a
There aren't many breeds that
250-pound
get
dog
that
would be
size.
Yeah, there's like
a realistic werewolf.
yeah, right. Yes, indeed.
What about can a Cane Corso get that big? No, they only get
know.
They
But
can-
No.
Nick, in the meantime, the chat has returned to poop, and therefore Dave Butler is the winner of this podcast.
Congratulations.
You guys didn't know there would be a winner.
Joyce
but
said those dogs don't get that big.
No, this is good timing because unfortunately I have to go get back to the science fiction.
No, we
convention.
gotta wrap it up. So, Dave, before you go, and then everyone else can have time, please let people know where after they read this incredible story of poop, where else can they find you and your detailed knowledge of magical history?
Well, if they like it, I'm not sure I want them to find me, but
It's a great story.
it's a little bit of the paradox here.
If that's what you're into, please stay away.
Again,
Yeah.
Also, we don't
Oh,
keep
so to
Nick.
find the load.
So you can find me on Twitter. My handle's at David John Butler. That's probably the easiest place. I have a mailing list that goes out Monday morning, and it's an easy way to stay in touch with me and know what I'm publishing. And in various Discord servers.
Nice. All right, be free at the con.
Have fun.
School everyone at the
everyone.
game.
Bye, Dave.
Great to
Yeah.
Release you.
Awesome. Well, let's start with Casey and work our way back up.
He had to shit and get, didn't he?
Damn it, Nick.
There it
Go
was.
again.
What are we doing? Where can you find me? What should you buy of mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All those
All right.
things.
Yes, representing for my blue-haired sisters. You can find me in the club, bottle full of, no, just kidding. You can find me on also on Twitter. I'm Kacey Ezell 1. You can find me at my website. It's kaceyezell.net, and like all my social links are there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but I'm not as active as I should be. If you really want to keep in touch with me, you should definitely go to my website, sign up for my mailing list, get the free exclusive secret squirrel link to my yes, I walked into a bar. It hurt my head. Just kidding. No, that didn't happen either. But get the free exclusive secret squirrel link to my private Discord for all of my fans and friends, where we talk about cool things and books and the intersection of those two categories, which is a very circular Venn diagram. So, and then you should buy this book, and then you should also buy Or All Will Burn, because that just came out this week. And if you are one of those people who needs like your like noir fix early, like I do, you can now get the e-arc of the third anthology in the Noir Fatale series that I edited with Larry Correa. And I am super excited to say that two of our people on the call here tonight have stories in it. Those two people being Marisa Wolf and Steve Diamond, who's over there.
Yes.
So yeah. So go get the e-arc, read it, love it, and then buy the real one when it comes out in January.
Buy all the things.
All the things.
All the things. Yeah.
Steve, you on next.
Okay, you can find me on the Twitters at SteveDiamond80. My author website is authorstevediamond.com. It's very creative. And, if you need to get a hold of me, it can be, and that's my novel that I wrote with Larry. It's there's no horror in it. I swear. It's super, it's a Hallmark movie.
It's lighthearted.
Just joy
My
and
mom-
happiness.
After I wrote it, my mom doesn't like horror at all, not at all. I mean, she likes Alfred Hitchcock like we all do, but she's not a fan of what most people consider horror, and yet pretty much everything I write is super messed up in some degree. And she's like, man, she's like, is there anything like is there a happy ending to that book? And I said, well, I mean, the character learns how to read in it. That's pretty happy, right? I mean, but if you want to listen to Larry, Correa, and I ramble about stuff, we host a weekly podcast called The Writer Dojo, and that's all sorts of good stuff there. Let's see, what can you buy of mine? I've had a really, really busy year. So the paperback release of that book Kacey's showing, that came out this year. I rewrote and am re-releasing my supernatural thriller novel Residue. That comes out on Halloween. And then the sequel comes out a month later. Gosh, I've had a half a dozen things come out this year. So whatever you want to read, I've written something in it, whether it's fantasy or some science fiction-y stuff or whatever. Next year I have Horror Winnie the Pooh coming out. So, woo, that's the darkest thing I've ever written, is actually that story. So
I can't wait.
I don't know when it comes out. It's like Q1, but and like Kacey said, I'm in that super awesome noir anthology. I'm very, very excited for people to read that story. It's
really good. It's a really good story.
It's really, really cool. It's one of the best things I've ever written.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, it's very good, man. Very good. I was thrilled. It was one of those that was hard to edit because I had to keep reading it.
Yeah. Nice. So that's the first instance of my werewolf cop. So it's very, very dark and violent, and it has a very appropriate horror noir ending. So on you go.
Nice. Thanks, Steve. Dan.
Well, let's see. I've got I'm in a couple of other anthologies that came out earlier this year. We Dare, Old Age and Treachery. Jamie Ibsen edited that one. That was a lot of fun. So if you want to see more of the military sci-fi, less Cthulhu brain grabbing, that would be where I would recommend. Also, the Phoenix Initiative for Chris Kennedy in 4HU. I've got a story in that one that came out in June. I've got some other stuff coming out. Hopefully, I'm working on an anthology. I think Nick referred to it earlier. We have a 4HU anthology that's due later this year. It's more peacemakers, but we'll just leave it at that and see what comes of it. And trying to get back in the groove of getting some serious writing, because I need to get a novel out. And I think that I'll be talking to Nick's dad about that, because I think I've got a good story for salvage.
Interesting.
And that'll be me. There you go. So thank you, guys. It was great fun, as always, talking to you folks. It's always motivating as hell to see all you people, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Come to Salvage, Dan. We have cookies. So I
do like cookies.
We have cookies. This is actually like the third anthology we've been in together this year, which is pretty cool. Nick Steverson and I had our Hyena trilogy come out this year. We wrote those books in like 6 months. It was amazing. Salvage Bunny 2 came out back in like March. I just handed over Salvage Bunny 3 to Marisa and Nick and my writing mentor Kacey Moores. So that'll be fun.
Fucking good. I haven't cursed the whole time. It's so fucking good.
I paid her to say that just to copy off of you. Totally.
Yeah, we're just passing around the same $10
cookies.
I got cookies.
You guys are so cute. I love this.
That's awesome. I love those covers. I do have another short story coming out on Monday in Bill Webb's Last Brigade universe, the LBU, Standing Against All Odds. It's like 9 of us military veteran writers what happens when the world ends. And I ended up twinning my story with Kacey Moore's, mostly because I had no ideas, none. Stupid brain, had nothing, and he saved me. So it was great. But you can find me on Facebook. I spend an unhealthy amount of time there. You can find me at my website, melissaolthoff.net, because I totally copied off of Marisa Wolf, and chriskennedypublishing.com.
She always sounds like a railing.
Hun, haven't you figured out? I am Aurelian and Maddie.
That's true. And a little bit Kaylee.
A lot, Kaylee. I am my characters. It's fine.
All right, Mark, what you got?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Yes.
November 10th, I have my latest installment coming in for Four Horsemen Universe, which will be Winged Hussars Andromeda. The second Hussars book to come out since I wrote the original one. I realized they'd never gotten any love, and the Cartwrights have had, I think, 4 books around them, so it's kind of about time. This one's got some absolutely huge revelations in it for the Four Horsemen universe, some stuff that's been developing for a long time. I have, of course, this short story just came out in this. Me and Oz are really closing in on the end of Rules of Engagement finally. We're at a pinch point a bit for some of the art, and we're having a few issues, but like I'm doing, it's all I'm doing right now is content for Rules of Engagement. I'm finishing content. Like today, I've worked on settings for the last 2 days and stuff like that. You can get a hold of me at Mark Wandrey Author at Amazon, Facebook, sorry. Also on Instagram, same handle, Mark_Wandrey_ author. That's the original board game. Yes.
Yeah.
That was 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Hey, hi, everyone. And lastly, you can check out my personal page at worldmaker.us. Keep up with me there. I have a newsletter you can sign up for also, which gets done once in a while. And soon I'll be having an announcement for launching an entirely new universe.
What?
Not going to say yet.
Okay, yeah, not.
Is it the one I know about though? Is it? Is it the one?
One person here knows exactly about it because she helped create it.
Interesting.
Well, I saw Yvonne.
So excited.
Very excited. Yvonne's very excited about your book, Mark.
Oh, Winged Hussars Andromeda?
Yvonne is the deep, true fan. Love her.
Yeah, this one's a really. I love getting into the Hussars because they're fun to write about. I love the characters. Yeah. The twins are old enough to get into trouble now, so they end up. I'm just going to say this: they get kidnapped, and she does not take it well when someone takes her children away. She's the ultimate mama bear with a 40 terawatt particle accelerator beam to get even with. So
yeah.
I had fun writing. I think everybody will like it. Chris is editing it right now because I get daily messages about what words were you using for this because it's really not in English. I joke that I have a passing acquaintance with the English language. It passed me years ago.
Fair. That's fair. All right, Nick, go ahead.
So you can find me at nicksteverson.com or chriskennedypublishing.com. Pretty much all sci-fi related things. Hyena, Space Hyena is the 3 books that me and Melissa just put out this year. We plan on doing more. I got a 4HU story coming out soon in the Bureau 42 project. I just had a 4HU story come out in Phoenix Initiative. That was a fun story to write. It was pretty much Andy Dufresne meets the Dirty Dozen and in space. So that was a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
Thank you. And then I've got, me and Melissa actually have stuff we can't talk about coming up. New universe. So that'll be fun. Yeah. Me, Melissa, and girl Kacey down there have stuff that we're doing dovetailing together for something very cool. And then I've got to do another salvage title universe for that guy back there, DeCall and Ryan. I got to work on that, and I'm about a third of the way through my first 4 Horsemen universe novel. So hopefully that'll be good.
And it's about time.
Nice.
Time is the problem.
I mean, details. All right, Matt.
You can reach me at mattnovotny.net. So that's the website. Also, I am more active on Facebook. So facebook.com, Matt Novotny Writes. That's the author page. And of course, the author page and the personal page kind of get mixed all the way around. I do try and keep the author page focused mostly on books. If you hop on the personal page, send me a friend request. All bets are off there because I have a very blue sense of humor. So just know what you're signing up for. As far as what I've got coming out, I have a story in the Bureau 42 project that will come out sometime next year. I'm currently working on the second novel in my Salvage trilogy. That's called Warbirds. And I'm not sure when that's going to get turned in, but progress every day. And then next year has got a whole bunch of stuff coming up with the Valkyries initiative, run by the fabulous Marisa Wolf.
That's very exciting. 2024. Thanks, Matt. Okay, yeah, marisawolf.net, marisawolf.com. I got both because it's how I do. And if you like books and you like dogs, I'm at Book Dogs at Instagram. That's what I post there, so you're welcome. You should totally buy this horror anthology because not only will you see all of these Yahoo's amazing talent, there are even more authors. There are 13 stories. Go figure. And they're just all delightful. I love them all. So I think you're going to really enjoy it. Nick and I had a ton of fun, and he said really nice things about me at the beginning, and right back at him. Like, he is strongly recommend you can do an anthology with him if he'll let you, because you're not me. But he is a great teammate and a very insightful editor. So definitely pick that up. Kacey and I have a really fun story in All Will Burn that also Secrets kicks off a brand new universe that we aren't teasing. We will tell you we are going to work on in the future. You're welcome. And have a story in Down These Mean Streets that I'm really excited about. And secretly, you guys, the reason you can find this out here, the only reason my name is on the cover with these freaking legends in this anthology is because I have a novel coming out the next month from Baen, and they want you to buy it, and I want you to buy it. So
good.
Keep an eye out.
Pre-orders already available.
I'm dancing with my phone because it's the only place I have your novel.
I love you. Thank you. Yes, you can pre-order Beyond Enemies right now, anywhere books are sold. But you can get Down These Mean Streets right now and just get that early peek. So lots of cool stuff. And you should check them out. And you should check all of these Yahoos out and then go read horror late into the night and turn all your lights on and go to bed. Yes. Yes. That's how it works. That's science. Yes. You're welcome. Yes. Any final creepy thoughts you want to leave people on, or else we can just have Kacey whisper us on the way out?
Always listen to your apartment manager.
No, she cannot.
She can. Yes. So one super fun thing, read this book. Nick and I had a shit ton of fun. And at the end, we worked some things in. You're welcome. But there are some fun little connective tissues between the stories, just for the reader experience. So
one of my if you don't know, I deliver liquor as the day job. I drive a semi, and I'm a liquor delivery guy. And I get to my second stop on Friday, and the girl who checks me in right there is reading on her phone, and I'm like, "What are you reading?" She goes, "Well, I'm kind of angry right now because I got into the first page of your anthology of horror, and then that just went away, and I don't know what I'm doing right now." Like, he comes back. Don't worry. Just keep going. So she was halfway through the first story when I got there.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So she got to the turd and no explanation of how it got there.
Yeah. She's like, "What happened to the other guy?" And I'm like, "Just wait.
He's gonna come back. The poop scared him away. He needed a minute.
You're in a tour right now. Just
You're on a tour. Enjoy the experiences. The olfactory. Anyway.
The immortal question of plain or peanut.
No. Matt Novotny. Bad.
Nobody wants to examine it that much.
No, Matt is a detail-oriented guy. So, we've got lots of fun Freudian slips for you also.
Jeez.
Jeremy is pretty great.
You say slip, but come on.
I said what I said. friction. Anyway, okay, that feels like a good time to wrap this up. Go check out the book. I hope you love
That's what he
it.
said.
Damn it. Go check out all these people and all of their amazing other stories.
God damn.
And we will stop annoying Jeremy for this time. So goodbye, good night, good luck.
Night, everyone.
All in a good night.